Today on the show,
if you give me 3 hours, I will give you your big idea.
Entrepreneurs on Fire with John Lee Dumas. Welcome to the Not Another Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm Dan Riando, joined once again by Brian Davis. Hi, Brian.
Hey, Danny. How you doing?
Good. Well, I'm excited for today's episode. I know you are too. We invited the host of Entrepreneurs on Fire, John Lee Dumas, who's built quite a online following. I know you're a fan of him. Why did you want to bring him on the show?
I guess he's spoken to about 2,000 entrepreneurs or more than that over the past few years since he's had his podcast. He has one of the most popular business podcasts out there. So it was really awesome to have him on. And it's really cool that he gave us some time.
Yeah, it is. And I was kind of listening in on this interview. We were kind of short on time, so you answered most of the questions. I was really interested in just how charismatic this guy is and how visionary he is, or how clear of a vision he has about how you can build an online business, something that so many people want to do these days, but often fail. Does anything really stick out for you? One big takeaway that you got from this interview?
Yeah, I was really interested in his funnel and how he gets people either into his podcast or how he markets online, on Facebook, on social media to get people into an information product. And that was really interesting to me. And it seems like something that a lot of real estate investors would be interested in, understanding how to just get people into your funnel or into your life so that they can start taking in the content that you're providing and start to understand where you're coming from.
And Brian, I know that you and I were talking recently about a piece that you shared on Facebook that allowed you to kind of connect more broadly with an audience, but with one person specifically. You want to share that with the audience?
Yeah, sure. This was a story or my background that I originally didn't intend on sharing with the audience. And I don't really share this story with too many people. I don't make a point of it. Just recently, I was having a conversation with somebody and it came up and I realized it would probably be a good story to just connect with people. I think it might resonate with people and the audience might get a better understanding of why I'm moving in the direction that I'm moving in. It all started, I was born in a small town in 1980 in Plymouth, Connecticut. It's a small blue-collar town. And when I was 2 years old, my father, he went to work one day. On his way to work, he had a seizure and he had a car accident and he ended up passing. And so he left me and my brother, who was 4 at the time, and my mother. It's a sensitive subject, and but I decided that it's best if I own it and share it with people. I try to avoid it because people always want to send their condolences or feel bad for you. I don't really want to be in that situation. This is the early 1980s. In the early 80s, social media wasn't around. There were no cell phones. Recording VHS was just coming about. There were no podcasts, blogs, or vlogs or anything like that. So I've never actually seen any videos or heard my dad's voice, and I've never read anything that he wrote to us. He was 28 when he died. That's something that I would have really liked to have over the years. And at this point, all I have are some old pictures and maybe descriptions or recollections from the small family that I have. And so he kind of feels like a ghost to me at this point in my life and has always been like that. This lack of understanding and the lack of resources that I've had have inspired me to document my business and my life. So if someday I head out the door and I never return, my 3 children would have a better understanding of who I was and what I was like. And maybe along the way, if I'm not around, I could impart a few words of wisdom. And I believe that they would take to heart much more what I have to say than what somebody else has to say. It's had a great impact on me. I was a happy kid growing up, and I didn't really understand what I was missing. But over the past few years, I've really come to empathize with my mother now that I'm a father, and I can start to understand the pain she had to endure. It's really come to help me understand what I missed now that I'm a father. beyond just documenting my life for my kids, it's really important for me to design a business that gives me the flexibility to be present in my kids' lives. And it's important that I'm able to give them my time and attention, to get them ready for school, to make their lunch, to drop them off at the bus stop, to just have a catch or ride a bike with them or go watch their games that they have. So, and it's also important for me to be there for my wife, because anybody that has 3 children understands the complexities and the work involved in raising kids. So it's really important for me to be there for them. So this realization kind of forced me to take a real serious look at the business and try to figure out how I could create a business that gives me the time and freedom to be there for them when they need me the most, and to design a business that can run on systems so that I'm not spending my days running around dealing with some of the trivial issues. So I think that's really the post that I put out. And that's probably the story I'll end up sharing with people now that I've made it public and now that I've decided to own it. And I think that's about it.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. And it really does help to, I think, focus other entrepreneurs' minds on why they're doing what they're doing. I think it's really important for people to hear that, and I appreciate you sharing it. Well, with that, I guess we should get into the interview. Here is Brian's interview with John Lee Dumas.
What have you come to see as the most common attributes of successful entrepreneurs over the years doing your show?
So I've interviewed 2,000 successful entrepreneurs. Most entrepreneurs they have at least one of these. The really successful ones have 2, and kind of the unicorns seem to have all 3. And that would be number 1, productivity. And not just like that they're productive and they're producing a lot of content, but they're producing the right content for their brand, for their mission, for kind of what their goal set is. Number 2, I would say discipline is a huge trait that successful entrepreneurs have. And really for me, what discipline means is you're a disciple to your plan of action. So you're sitting down, you're creating a plan of action, and you are disciplined enough to execute on that and to follow through on that disciplined plan of action. And then number 3 is focus. And it's an acronym that I actually love, which is follow one course until success. So if you're able to kind of mix those 3 together, have at least 1, hopefully 2, and sometimes all 3, you're a dangerous entrepreneur in a good way. So if you're able to be productive, disciplined, and focused, you're off to the races.
Awesome, John. And what advice would you give a new or possibly struggling entrepreneur?
Well, I can tell you might be a little bit of a self-promotion, but the reality is I've been working on this problem now for months because I see in my audience struggling entrepreneurs left and right. And what I think their major problem is that they don't have a big idea, or they have a lot of ideas, but they don't know what their big idea is. So I actually put in, again, months of work to create what I think is the perfect solution. And that's a program called 3 Hours to Your Big Idea. It's completely free. It's kind of my gift to my listeners and anybody else who wants to go through the 3 hours of training. And it's over at yourbigidea.io.
What advice would you give to a business to quickly make it profitable or possibly turn things around? What are some things? You
have to have one-on-one conversations with your current customers, your current listeners, your current clients, followers, whoever that might be for your business. You have to have one-on-one conversations, and you have to ask these questions. How'd you find out about me, about my business? How'd you find out about us? Start identifying the biggest lead generators for your business so you can turn up the heat there. Number 2, what do you like about our services, about our products? So you can turn up the heat in those areas. And then what don't you like? And when you hear one person say something they don't like about your business, you can pretty much ignore it. But if you hear multiple people saying the same thing they don't like about your business, then you take notice, and then you might take corrective action. And then the most important thing is, what are you struggling with right now? Because if you are able to identify a theme that your current customers, your current clients, your current listeners are actually having for obstacles, challenges, and struggles, then you can create the solution for them, and that can turn your business around, because now you have a solution for your current clients, customers, listeners, viewers, problems, obstacles, challenges, struggles, and you're off to the races.
Could you talk about the beginning of your career, in that some steps you had taken initially, and maybe what advice you might give to people looking to implement that as a marketing strategy?
Sure. Well, when I started off as a content marketer, I was, like every other content marketer, a really crappy content marketer. And the fact that people think that you're going to be good when you start as a podcaster or as a YouTuber or as a social media guru or any of these things that you're doing to create and produce content, you're wrong. Like, you're not going to be good. It takes time, energy, and effort to continuously improve slightly, sometimes imperceptibly, before you become good at that thing. That's just a reality of life. But for me, I did a couple things right. Amongst a sea of things I did wrong, I did a couple things right. Specifically, I hired a successful mentor, and that mentor was successful for me because she was a successful business podcast host. And guess what? I wanted to be a successful business podcast host. So therefore, I hired the right person. Like, so many people hire successful entrepreneurs, but they're not successful in the niche that that person wants to be successful in. And therefore, that's not the right mentor. So I hired the right mentor, and then I joined the right masterminds. I found other podcasters who had just launched, who were about to launch, and we held each other accountable. We met every single week. We shared struggles, obstacles, challenges. We held each other accountable every step of the way, and that was critical to my success, doing those two things, because I did a lot of things wrong when I started out, but doing those two things right allowed me to survive, to fight and live another day.
So, John, what would be a relatively good road to take when somebody starts content marketing? What would be a quick way to build an audience? Do you have any suggestions for how to get in front of customers?
Well, any quick way you're going to build an audience is not going to be a meaningful or long-term way to success. Otherwise, everybody would be doing it. And obviously, when that happens, then that's just a route for disaster. The biggest thing you can do is identify something that you're actually curious about as a human being, that you actually have some interest, some passion, and also some skills and some expertise. So you can actually add value in that area as well. And that's not an easy solution. That's not an easy commingling, what I call zone of fire. That's not an easy zone of fire to find, because you're going to be passionate about something, but you're going to have zero skills in it. You're going to be really an expert in one thing, but you're going to have no curiosity for it. Like, it's that, and it's really hard to find that specific zone of fire. But once you do, then you have to find other people who are like-minded, and then you have to start having one-on-one conversations with them, just like we talked about earlier. Just like to turn around a business, it's the same way to start a business. Have one-on-one conversations with people who have the similar desires, interests, passions, expertise, curiosities that you have, and figure out what their biggest struggles and obstacles and challenges are, and then decide which one of those you want to create a solution for. Then create that solution and offer it to them in the form of a product or a service or a community or fill in the blank. It's really that simple.
Right. If you were to pay for marketing just to kind of boost the speed in which you get in front of people, what do you think the best way to approach that might be in terms of the type of content, video, articles, or other types of marketing, and what would be like the platform you might want to push that content through?
Well, number one, advertising is really expensive. So I would make sure that I actually had a funnel that was going to lead to some kind of paid product. So I would be able to find and generate some type of ROI, return on investment, on whatever type and forms of marketing I was going to be doing. But to get specific on that, if I had that funnel in place, then it would be video advertising on Facebook. That would be a initial route that I would go. And then also I would identify influencers on Instagram who have a large and engaged audience in the area that I have a solution for, a product or a service for, and then I would be direct messaging these quote unquote influencers on how much is it going to cost for them to promote, to talk about, to post about my product, my service. And when they come back and say $10,000, I'm going to say, thank you, have a nice day. And when someone comes back and says $25, I'm going to say, awesome, let me lock you down for the next 3 months, because that is a huge Wild West right now where influencers do not know the value that they have. And guess what? You can't pay rent off likes and comments and amount of followers. So a lot of those people, although they may appear to be really successful in Instagram, et cetera, and they also don't have 2 nickels to rub together. And so people like myself who have plenty of nickels to rub together should be looking for those situations so that we can put 2 and 2 together. Let me give you some nickels, and you in turn give me some exposure and some attention, and we all win.
Okay. And so if you were going to use video marketing on Facebook, what would that message look like? How long might that video be? And what would be your approach if you were to put together a video?
It would be 3 to 5 minutes at the most, and then it would be leading directly to a free training. So, for instance, I would jump on a YouTube video and I would say something along these lines. I would say, and this is, by the way, a real funnel that I have in place. I would say, listen, you're an entrepreneur and you're likely struggling because you don't have your big idea right now, or you have a lot of ideas, but you're not sure which of those ideas is the big idea. I mean, my name is John Lee Dumas. I've interviewed over 2,000 entrepreneurs. I know that successful entrepreneurs have identified their big idea and they've crushed it. So help me help you identify your big idea. I have a completely free training. It's 3 hours to your big idea. If you give me 3 hours, I will give you your big idea. And guess what? It's free. So all I'm asking for is your time, which you have because you're not currently a successful entrepreneur. So you want to become one. Let's do this training. Make it happen. Click on the link below this video or just visit yourbigidea.io. And in 3 hours from this second right now, you'll have your big idea. Go do the training. And then guess what? That training is 3 hours long and it's incredibly valuable. And it's going to deliver on my promise of giving that individual their big idea. And then what do? I say, listen, you now have your big idea. Let's turn your big idea into real revenue, because it's one thing to have a big idea. It's another thing to actually generate revenue from that big idea. So here is my course, The Real Revenue System. And here's exactly what's in the course. Here's the number of modules. Here's the content you're going to learn. But the most important thing for you to know is I am guaranteeing that we will take your big idea and turn it into real revenue or your money back. And that's a lifetime guarantee. And from that little video ad on Facebook for people taking a 3-hour course, they're like, wow, this is valuable. This is great training. I'm liking and trusting JLD more and more every minute, to them investing in this course, Real Revenue, which is not free. In fact, it's $295, to getting to real revenue. That is a funnel where I can invest an incredible amount of money in Facebook because I have a great positive ROI on that funnel. So that would be a specific example that I am currently utilizing to generate revenue using Facebook video ads.
Very awesome. I think we could probably end there, John. I know you're a busy guy and you have some more people you have to talk to today. So we really appreciate you coming in and sharing some thoughts with the audience.
Well, I enjoyed the conversation. Thanks for having me, and look forward to when this goes live.
That was Brian's interview with John Lee Dumas. You can learn more about him and his podcast at eofire.com. That's all the time we have for this edition of the show. We'll be back on Monday with a new one. Thanks for listening, and be sure to rate and comment on the podcast at Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time.